Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada, and that is Sharron Angle. Sharron, our next guest is with us, longtime friend of the show. Please make him feel welcome as usual.
Well, it's always a pleasure and a privilege and an honor to introduce Roger Aronoff, who's the Executive Director and Editor of Citizens Commission on National Security. Roger Aronoff founded the Citizens Commission on Benghazi. He has produced and directed 6 documentaries and produced a weekly series on PBS called Think Tank with Ben Wattenberg. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Roger.
Thank you so much, Sharron. Great to be with you again.
It's great to have you. And we have an article here. CCNS members help expose the unraveling Obama administration conspiracy. We didn't know there was a conspiracy over there with Obama. We thought it was all with Trump. What's going on? What's this conspiracy stuff?
This is really quite a story that I kind of piggybacked off of a story by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones. They've been covering something called the Hammer. And the way that the CCNS, the Citizens Commission on National Security, people became involved was that they had read this story and then they went on another show, Dave Janda's Operation Freedom, and talked about the Hammer, which is what this program was called. Basically, the CIA and the NSA under Clapper and Brennan had brought on someone named Dennis Montgomery, who was a contractor, worked for CIA, NSA, and FBI, and he created this super secret platform for basically surveillance and spying, and text messages and emails and phone calls, and this had been going on for quite some time. And this came out because Dennis Montgomery later became a whistleblower represented by Larry Klayman, and he had turned over, he was very disturbed by what he had created and how they were using it, and he turned over 47 hard drives, which included 600 million files.
Wow.
On things that they had picked up, including, and this came out in court when Klayman was representing him, because apparently they weren't doing enough with this. He was granted immunity, he being Montgomery, and there were tapes and read in court by Judge Murray Snow. This is in Maricopa County in Arizona. You know, that Trump had been wiretapped a zillion times. You know, obviously that's an exaggerated number, but this had been going on before he became president. And so the chain of events here was that Lieutenant General Thomas McInerney, who is one of our senior founding members of the Citizens Commission on National Security, went on this show and talked about it. And within a half hour, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, who I'm sure your listeners and viewers know quite well, they were texting back and forth references to this very interview. And the following morning, Comey testified before the House Select Committee on Intelligence that they were starting this investigation. At the time, they called it, a counterintelligence investigation into Trump and Russia, and if Russia was involved with the Trump campaign. And so that started. That was in March of 2017. And so that's the way our people, were, had a role in this coming out, because it happened right then, which, as we know, led to the eventually after Comey was fired, then Mueller was appointed, and it turned into an investigation looking at Trump in terms of criminal activity. And we know the ultimate outcome of that. But what you have here really is something started under the Obama administration, clearly with, you have to assume his knowledge, because again, you look back at the Strzok page text between them, and they later talk about how the White House is controlling everything.
Well, you write in your article, Roger, that the hammer under the Obama administration negated every American's constitutional rights to privacy, turning the United States into a police state where the federal government was weaponized by the Obama administration against its political enemies. Is that what he meant when he said, we will punish our enemies and reward our friends? Because we heard Obama say that, and we thought at the time, wow, what a statement. But he really had a real weapon, didn't he?
Well, he certainly did. And that quote you just gave is one that from the article that I was referring to, because the people that really did the investigative work on this to talk about the hammer and what it is and how it came about, again, were Mary Fanning and Alan Jones. And that was a quote from their article that I had in mind. And I would urge people to read mine, and it will lead to theirs as well. It's if you go to ccnationalsecurity.org, that's Citizens Commission, ccnationalsecurity.org, you will find my article, and it leads to theirs. And we also have other great articles up on that site from Alan West and Claire Lopez and Colonel Lawrence Sellen, Steve Emerson of the Investigative Project on Terrorism, who's part of our commission. So I think you'll find a lot of really interesting articles on our site.
Well, I think there are just some great things in this article. Later on in the article, you say, while many Democrats and their media allies are constantly pushing impeachment and obstruction of justice as their chosen narrative, they are ignoring, belittling, mocking, and downplaying this emerging narrative of corruption and collusion on the part of the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton in their efforts to undermine the Trump candidacy and now his presidency. Do you think they will continue to, or do you think now this thing is really starting to break wide open? It seemed like when Attorney General Barr said, no, there's no collusion with the Trump campaign, that should have shifted over to where is the collusion, because we all know about Hillary Clinton and her close ties to Russia. And now you've opened up this whole thing about the hammer. So are we going to see justice here? Are we going to see a pursuit of justice?
Well, there's a pursuit going on, and that part was a quote from my article, and it is a matter that Trump has called the Mueller investigation a witch hunt all along. Now you see the media calling Trump's decision to declassify all of the FISA warrants and everything related to the investigation of him, or to give that authority to William Barr to decide what to declassify. Now they're saying he's going on a witch hunt to look into to investigate the investigators, as they say. And so they're trying to make it appear that he's a big hypocrite now, and he didn't want any more investigation, but now he wants this investigation. Well, this is a totally different thing, but it's kind of been hiding in plain sight, and many of us have been aware of it for a long time, since we saw Comey step up and give his July 5th press conference in 2016, where he cleared Hillary of any criminal wrongdoing when it was quite clear she had been violating the Espionage Act over and over again for years on her private unsecured server. And he even acknowledged it, saying that, yes, she had classified material. Yes, some of it was marked classified. No, she didn't only have one device. She had many devices, and she had destroyed them, and she had destroyed evidence. But he changed it from grossly negligent, which is a criminal standard that she had violated, and called it exceedingly or excessively careless, which was not. Just it's kind of a statement. And we know he had written up the exoneration 2 months before he ever interviewed her.
Well, certainly it was deliberate, and I think that we need to, get this out in the open and have justice applied. We are coming to you from our Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet, on TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can also watch us on the TV, on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We've been talking with our guest, Roger Aronoff, who is the Executive Director and Editor of Citizens Commission on National Security, and he has written an article, CCNS Members Help Expose the Unraveling Obama Administration Conspiracy. We'll be right back with Rick Trader. I'm Sharron Angle, and our guest, Roger Aronoff, to continue talking about this conspiracy.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Our guest this segment is a very good friend of our show, Roger Aronoff. He's the Executive Director and Editor of the Citizens Commission on National Security. Roger, thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. Likewise. I always enjoy being with you, Rick, and you, Sharron.
Well, Roger, Sharron Sharron and I have very similar thinking because she talked about in part of your article that I had outlined. And it says here, the hammer under the Obama administration negated every American's constitutional rights to privacy, turning the United States into a police state where the federal government was weaponized by the Obama administration against its political enemies. Roger, could you, for a minute, talk about the different agencies that Obama weaponized and how they were used?
Well, we're basically talking about the NSA, the CIA, and the DOJ. I mean, the FBI under there. I just gave the example.
And add the IRS to that one, I think.
Well, yeah, I think with Lois Lerner, and they sure did. I mean, they went after the conservative groups strictly for political reasons to keep them quiet during the 2012 campaign. And, they were quite successful at doing that. So they certainly did. And this is just a huge story, though, to the idea that they had created this so-called the hammer to listen in on all of these calls, including, Trump as a candidate. And it's really quite a shocking thing, but the media will not touch it. I mean, I haven't even really heard it on Fox. I've seen a little bit, a while back. Larry Klayman was on there talking about it in his case representing Dennis Montgomery, but I don't see it really talked about anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of hope in what Barr is doing, and he's appointed John Durham, a U.S. attorney, to look into this, and apparently that's been going on for a number of months. Then you have the John Huber case out of Utah looking into other aspects of it, and you've got the Inspector General looking into the Department of Justice. So you've got these 4 investigations, but I must say, until I see indictments, and these are big name people, and it never seems to happen that people at that level are held accountable. And I'm talking Comey, Clapper, Hillary, Obama. Will they ever be? And if they're not, will they come out and say, look, they've investigated us and no one filed any criminal charges, so we have been exonerated, just like Trump claims he was exonerated by the Mueller report. So that's a way this could boomerang back on those of us who want to see these people held accountable.
Roger, when you talk about this Russian collusion, this Russian invasion, the Russian influence on our election, another thing I don't hear the media talking about, unless you want to talk about the Conservative Commandos radio show. But Roger, another thing they don't talk about is one very, very simple fact. Who the hell was the president in 2016? Who was the president when this was all happening? Who was the president that did nothing that let this happen? Who was that president, Roger? And yet you hear no one talking about that. You would swear that Donald Trump was the president through all of this, but he wasn't. Barack Obama was the president. Yet nobody, nowhere except here, I'm proud to say, talks about that part.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And not only that, but who colluded with the Russians? We know Hillary, through the Perkins Coie, she had a law firm to sort of run interference and to be a layer or a level of sort of to hide this thing. And they hired Fusion GPS, who hired Christopher Steele, who I just saw this afternoon has refused to cooperate with the new U.S. Attorney, John Durham, on that. He's not going to answer his questions. We'll see what.
Oh, where's the outrage, Roger? Where's the outrage of that? I mean,
Well,
Do you
just turn
think
on
this is
CNN.
something that MSNBC or CNN is going to talk about?
Right. Turn on Anderson Cooper tonight, and he's going to be all over that story.
Oh, I'm sure, Roger. I'm sure. Hey,
Yeah.
Roger, you wrote another paragraph in your article about John Solomon, who has done some of the best investigation work on this subject, wrote last month, quote, text messages between alleged FBI lovebirds Strzok and Page raised concern about, quote, pressure from the White House and the agency BS game, DOJ leaks and the need for the FBI insurance policy, and as Strzok text at one point in August 2016, quoting a colleague, quote, the White House is running this. Now we're talking about August 2016. The
Right.
White House is running this. Roger Aronoff, let's be clear about this. Whose White House was it? Whose White House?
Barack Obama, no doubt about it.
And again, you haven't heard about this. Where is the outrage about this? Gee, I can remember Watergate and the outrage of the media, the outrage of the public that the White House may have had something to do with the third-rate break-in into the DNC's office at that time. Oh, my God. Nothing about this.
The outrage is very selective. And to me, the key word in there is an insurance. In other words, this was their insurance policy in case somehow, which they thought couldn't happen, shouldn't happen, wouldn't happen, that Trump gets elected. This is our insurance policy. And of course, they're talking about the Russia collusion investigation. They'll go after Trump. I mean, we know how they planted people there to get Papadopoulos to come to London and, try to get him to say that, they're working with the Russians to get all the dirt on Hillary. When in fact, Hillary was paying Russians or paying to get Russian dirt, made up stuff on Trump. I mean, it's all well documented.
Well, that was all Russian money, Roger. You're talking she was paying the Russians to get dirt on Trump. Well, where'd she get that money? Well, she probably got that money from the Russians in the form of Bill Clinton being paid $500,000 for one speech. One speech, Roger. $500,000 in Moscow. I don't know who would want to hear Bill Clinton speak that badly to pay $500,000 for one speech. But I'd say that was a cycle there, Roger.
Well,
she used that money to pay the Russians, and she paid the Russians with money that she gave Bill.
And don't forget about the $145 million that went into the Clinton Foundation in exchange for support for Uranium One. Now they say, well, the timeline doesn't match up, but the money went in, and the support came back to give Russia control of 20% of our uranium. And then there's the other one that rarely gets talked about, Skolkovo, which is the equivalent of the Russia Silicon Valley with dual-use technology that went to the Russians. So if anybody was helpful to the Russians, sat silently while they invaded Ukraine, we gave them when Iran got $150 billion in that deal. How much did the Russians benefit from that when the Iranians passed it on to them to buy military equipment and so forth? So look, I think the Russians knew who they could count on to be to allow them to have their way.
Hey, Roger, gotta remind our audience of one more thing. The person who leaned over and said to Medved, tell Putin I'll be a little bit more flexible after this election. That's collusion. Hey, Roger, we got to go. Roger Aronoff, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow the work of the Citizens Commission on National Security.
Well, thank you. Come to ccnationalsecurity.org. Sign up. We're sending out emails. Please help us out. We have a donor button on there, and we could use all the help we can get. And, I so much admire Rick and Sharron for the work that they do at Conservative Commando. It's a great operation, and they need support too, and help them help
Well,
us.
Roger, I'm going to stop you for a minute because support for your organization is the only way we get this out. I mean, gosh,
Thank
this
you.
quote here, the White House is running this, coming from Peter Strzok. The White House is running this.
Yes.
And support of your group is the only way we get this information out. Roger Aronoff,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And once again, thank you for staying with us. We always enjoy knowing the fact that you are out there. And for rebroadcast, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And you'll find our radio show, our TV show, a lot of great articles, a lot of great information. You won't find us on Facebook. Once again, Facebook has totally banned our website as violating their community standards. Can't even get an appeal from them. But Sharron, we do have our next guest. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's an honor to introduce Michael Stumo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Coalition for Prosperous America, CPA, a coalition of agriculture, manufacturing, and organized labor associations, companies, and individuals. CPA works for policies to balance U.S. trade, maintain U.S. sovereignty, and develop an effective national production and economic strategy. Michael, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Great to be here, Sharron. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's always great to have you, Michael. We are looking at a press release. New CPA study shows across-the-board China tariff will boost U.S. economy and create thousands of jobs. This is good news, isn't it, for America? I mean, the trade war is not a war at all. It actually is a good thing for America. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really is. We've seen this is a unique study in that all the other trade studies you've heard about on the TV or the radio, they have no correlation with reality, from NAFTA to China joining the WTO to the Korea trade agreement. If you look back at all those studies when they predicted gains in jobs and gains for the U.S. economy, this is from a Federal Reserve study that said those studies had no correlation with reality when you look back. And so that's what they're still trotting out now when you hear in the radio, oh, the China trade war is going to cost jobs. So we started looking at, well, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with the studies? And we found that they never considered the value of production coming back to the U.S., the employment, the output, all that. They just assumed it wouldn't happen. They just assumed that, for example, tariffs would have high costs and they would be hard on the economy. But we know from last year that's not how the economy acted, because tariffs were put on last year and we benefited. Manufacturing employment went up, unemployment went down to 50-year lows. We got more investment. So my team includes an economist who builds economic models. So we took a standard model and did then remove the assumption against reshoring and new employment and new investment. And once we did that, we found that if we put 25% tariffs and we coordinated with what we saw last year in the real economy, not just some theoretical textbook stuff. If we assume that if we have 25% across the board tariffs against China, which we only have it against half of Chinese imports now, but let's assume we go to 100%. Part of that production will move back to the U.S., and that will create jobs and investment and new output. Part of it, and we used some information from the Boston Consulting Group and looked at, well, where are we somewhat competitive with China? So the tariffs will make a difference. Other products will move to third countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, or somewhere else. We'd sure like to have a lot of those jobs, but we're still not close enough to cost competitive for 25% tariffs to make the difference. However, we still benefit because they are lower cost countries than China. China is no longer the lower cost country, so we actually get cheaper imports once they migrate. So we get a boom on the reshoring side, and we get a benefit from cheaper products from the anybody but China strategy, which is happening now, moving elsewhere. So that's how we differ, and we think that correlates with what we saw last year.
Well, and you have some really exciting projections that you've made, as both in billions of dollars and additional jobs. Talk about that.
Yeah, so there's a 721,000 jobs and then 121,000 or so of additional GDP, a GDP bump from the tariffs. And so that's part of it. When you reshore some of the production, you get more output, which is more GDP growth. Of course, reshoring pumps into the job. Now, this is by 2024. It's not next month or, at the end of the year. It's over a 5-year period because it takes time to move these, procurement and industries and jobs to other places. So, that GDP bump, it's actually bigger than what even the president's USMCA, U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement projected. That job bump was pretty modest, nothing against the USMCA, but this is a bigger deal. The China fight is a bigger deal. It's worth having. And the only people right now that are sacrificing are marginally in the farmers. And we're going to come out with an update of this study next week to show, well, what kind of a hit are we taking on China's retaliation, which will move those numbers down a little bit. And then what kind of benefit do we get from recycling the new tariff revenue back into the economy? which is going to be a positive addition to it. So we'll see an update. Again, trying to get these models in line with reality, and that's what we're trying to do. We'll see the update next week.
Well, it's kind of exciting to look at 125 billion increase in GDP, which would sure go a long way to help with a $22 trillion deficit, I would think. Just to have jobs back here, just to have production back here, just to have money coming in that we didn't have coming in before, and it's not all on the taxpayer to pay back that debt. So to me, that's the exciting part.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it is the quality of employment too, because it's not Frappuccino servers that we're reshoring, right?
Right.
It's manufacturing jobs that tend to be 40-hour per week jobs that tend to have benefits more often than the service sector jobs and the like. So the quality of employment improves too when you do reshoring.
Well, I thought it was interesting too that this doesn't just apply to those that are getting the jobs or those that are in manufacturing or certain areas or sectors of our economy. This is a $700 a year bonus for every American. This is everybody across the board will benefit from this.
That's right. When you move high quality jobs back, for example, you get a new plant in a region that pays higher than the average wage around, those people getting the wage get more money. It builds a supply chain which feeds that new manufacturing facility, but it also tends to raise wages in the community because you just can't get workers if you're paying the same old low wage with low hour anymore. So everyone else has to raise their wages to compete too. So it has a sort of a derivative effect like that that's quite strong.
Well, this isn't really a trade war. I see it as a slap on China's hand. They've been, as you say, they have predatory trade and subsidy practices, and this really is not a war. It's just saying we're not going to do business that way anymore, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. We gave them 20 years to test the theory that China was going to be an open, democratic, capitalistic society. It absolutely is not. They're a 3,000-year-old culture that they're not intending to change just because of the World Trade Organization agreement. And we can't treat them like a free market, free trading economy. And indeed, they're a geopolitical rival to us. And they're challenging our position in the world and gutting our economy by taking the best industries over there in a strategic way and leaving us again with the Frappuccino servers and the hotel janitors.
And nothing wrong with those jobs. We like those guys. I do.
Yeah, but you want to be able to move up the ladder. You don't want the ladder to stop
Yeah,
there.
I don't think that is their lifelong ambition either. That's just a step in the right direction. We are seeing now the lineup, I guess, for the 2020 elections, and these projections are for 2024. What happens if Trump doesn't win? What happens if we get a different president? Does all of this now just reverse? What happens? Or is
that's a really good question. My crystal ball needs a little polishing, I guess. But right now, of course, what do we have? 23 Democrats running. So none of them have bed terribly aggressive on trade. Sherrod Brown of Ohio had been one of the more aggressive ones on trade in the past. He's been kind of calmer on that, or I guess more moderate, and he's not running. Tim Ryan is a long shot. He from Ohio. He was a little more, pushing on currency manipulation in the, past few years. But there's a lot of pressure among Democrats not to agree with Trump on anything, even if he has some great ideas. And certainly his trade intervention is a great idea. And so there's a lot of pushback to say, oh, he's a nationalist, populist, isolationist, this ist and that ist. So you can't agree even if it's working. So I don't see a Democrat out there that's going to be strong on trade intervention. That being said, there is more bipartisan support for going up against China because Trump has changed the conversation and revealed the predatory practices of China. That's why Schumer gave a congratulatory tweet when the president decided to pull out of the talks and up the tariffs from 10 to 20% on a certain portion of goods. So it's an issue that doesn't cut cleanly down party lines, but certainly if Trump was back in, we'd have a more certain environment to continue the trade pressure for the benefit of the U.S. national security and economic security.
Well, and as we all know, the economy kind of runs on a stable environment. It's difficult to have a good economy when you have an unstable atmosphere. And of course, the Democrats don't seem to have stability in mind. Just get rid of Trump. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. Rick, my co-host, and I, Sharron Angle, will be right back with our guest, Michael Stumo of the CPA, talking about the China trade wars, or not really trade wars.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And our guest this segment is Michael Stumo. Michael is the Chief Executive Officer of the Coalition for a Prosperous America. I like the sounds of that. Michael, thank you for holding through that break. We do appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me back.
Michael, it says here, and Sharron has mentioned that CPA is a coalition of agriculture, manufacturing, organized labor, associates, companies, and individuals. One of the things I wanted to point out in there, organized labor associations. And could you give me a little bit of feeling how they are feeling? I mean, this is a Trump issue. Trump is hated by the Democrats. The Democrats are doing everything they can to destroy this man, to destroy this presidency. And I would say in doing so, destroying the country. But the labor associations, the organized labor unions, have basically been heavily Democrat contributors, workers, voters. I mean, give us a feeling of how they're feeling at this point.
Right, they're feeling pretty conflicted. Certainly, labor union, the rank and file, at least anywhere from 31 to 38% voted for Trump in the 2016 election. But look, trade doesn't cut cleanly down party lines. There's a dissent and support on either side of the aisle, and of course, Trump is not a typical Republican. And for our group, which is very ideologically broad, from people who supported Trump and were on his campaign to those who supported Hillary and were on her campaign. But a few years ago, when Bush and Obama were in office, they were for every trade agreement. They didn't have to read it. They'd sign any trade agreement just so it said trade agreement on the front page, right?
Right.
And so you had a lot of Democrats, Republicans, but the Democrats in the House were the most skeptical of the trade agreements, and we were perceived as allying with House Democrats about 8 years ago. And then Trump came in and brought a new era of trade intervention in the national interest in a much more aggressive way, and now we've been supportive of him. So now we're supportive of the Trump administration as opposed to the House Democrats, and we haven't changed for our group. For labor themselves, Bob Lighthizer, Trump's trade team, was in part helped to be chosen by Dan D'Amico, the former chairman of Nucor Steel, who was chairman of our board. Bob Lighthizer is a trade attorney in D.C. who's now the U.S. trade representative. He has he knows the reality because he's been in litigation against these countries and all their cheating in court cases, in ITC, International Trade Commission cases. So he sees the dark underside of the cheating. And Wilbur Ross has seen it, a former steel executive and financier. And then, of course, Peter Navarro, who wrote Death by China. And Navarro is the strongest trade hawk, China hawk. He used to be a Democrat. And now he's the special assistant to the president on trade and manufacturing. So now our labor people like the trade team. Now, you have heard, and I won't repeat, any kind of the dissent on other issues, but they think Bob Lighthizer is the best U.S. trade representative this country's ever seen. So they're really conflicted at the top. But we're pretty clear on the trade issue.
Michael, you talk about industries moving back to the United States. What would those industries be, and could you name particular companies that you would look forward to moving their industry back to the USA?
Sure. A lot of our members are doing plastic mold, are intermediate goods suppliers. In a lot of things you buy, whether it's cars or lawnmowers, and you don't buy many airplanes, or military, but
I bought a couple.
Okay, well, then maybe you have. All right. So a lot of the plastic parts, yeah. You inject plastic into these molds to make some of the parts, and that's for high volume manufacturing. Some of that is coming back. The more the tariffs come up, that some of that comes back. Those who make machine tools, for high volume manufacturing, tools that cut metal, or those that make dies or do the metal stamping or the metal cutting, they're seeing business come back. We saw when the administration put solar panel tariffs on against the world because of dumping of solar tariffs here last January, they thought, well, solar installations will go down because it'll cost more. Well, A, solar installations went up, and B, we saw a few more factories be announced or started or expanded making solar panels in this country. We're seeing more clothes washers being made here after clothes washer tariffs, a lot of new investment in steel. And so the thing is, where we're within 25% or 20% cost competitive with China, it'll come back because of the tariffs. In some cases, it'll come back even without it because of the uncertainty now of doing business in China. Who wants to invest there if you don't know you're going to be able to sell back here?
Right, right.
But
hey,
then,
Michael, there's a couple other issues I want to get into. We're constrained by time. I apologize for that. The balance of trade between U.S. and China, and also how China has been using their industries fueled by U.S. dollars to build their military, and now they're very competitive with the United States. I think they actually have more ships than the United States does, and they're showing their muscles around the world. Could you talk about how the U.S. dollar fueling their economy is responsible for this?
Sure. The China is a trade deficit country with the rest of the world. In other words, the rest of the world sells more to China than they sell to the rest of the world. But they have a massive, as of last year, $420 billion trade surplus with the U.S. So the U.S. consumer market is the piggy bank for them to make money. Also, most of those entities that trade are either state-owned or state-controlled or provide a lot of revenue back to the state. And then, of course, some of those companies also help build those militarized islands or help do repression strategies and technology for the Uyghur concentration camps that they have and the like. So you cut off the U.S. piggy bank, the consumer market, which is their piggy bank, and they have a real hard time further increasing their military strength because it costs a lot of money. And we're seeing reports right now that they're shelving some projects because the money coming from our market.
Military projects.
Navy.
I don't think we can express strong enough how important that is to the safety of the United States and the free world. I mean, this is China. They are still a communist country. I still believe they want to be in a position of dominance militarily.
They believe they're the superior culture and the one that should be predominant in the world.
Michael Stumo, we want to thank you for joining us here in the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could find out more about the Coalition for a Prosperous America.
Go to prosperousamerica.org. You can sign up to receive regularly send information. You don't have to give us money. You can just get information because that's what's going to win this.
All right. Michael Stumo, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle. Don't go away. We will be back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, for rebroadcasts, please check out our website, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. You'll be able to find rebroadcasts of our radio show or TV show, a lot of terrific articles and a lot of great information. And Nasir, we do have our next guest with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Thanks, Rick. We have Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, who's the Executive Director for the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and is the Director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. He's with both congressional advisory boards. He served on the Congressional EMP Commission, the Congressional Strategic Posture Commission, the House Armed Services Committee, and also with the CIA. He's the author of Blackout Wars and EMP Manhattan Project. Dr. Pry, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
For having me.
Well, we wanted to talk to you about your article, Are U.S. Submarines Vulnerable? But give our listeners and viewers out there, what is it that your organization and what is it that you sort of do on an everyday basis? What are you trying to provide information to, and who are you trying to, who are you hoping, sees this information other than the general public?
Congressional Advisory Board and a nonprofit. We're the successor to the Congressional EMP Commission. And our job is to try to educate public and policymakers on the existential threat faced by our civilization from a natural or nuclear EMP and electromagnetic pulse, which can be created by the sun in the form of a geomagnetic superstorm like the 1859 Carrington event that could basically end global civilization. I mean, an EMP will overload electric grids, all kinds of electronics. We're an electronic civilization. We can't survive without electricity. The sun can do this, and we'll do it someday for sure if we don't protect our electric grids and our electronics from the natural EMP. And man can do this too by means of a nuclear weapon, nuclear EMP attack. You'd only need one weapon detonated at very high altitude. Even North Korea can do this. In fact, they've got 2 satellites orbiting over us that might be armed for a surprise nuclear EMP attack. And with one weapon, they could take down all of North America. 90% of our population could die in a year from starvation, disease, and societal collapse. And we're trying to get government, states, private citizens up in arms to do something about this problem. We know how to protect the electric grid and our civilian critical infrastructures, but we haven't done it. President Trump, much to his credit, is the first president who has listened to us. In fact, President Trump has delivered on a promise he made to me before he became president. I briefed him on EMP when he was first running for president at the Iowa caucuses and told him how we had been vulnerable to this existential threat in part because no government department and agency wanted to take responsibility for it. The Department of Defense said it belonged to the Department of Homeland Security because the sun could cause an EMP. That's a natural threat. The Department of Homeland Security said terrorists or Russia or China could make a nuclear EMP attack. Therefore, it's a DoD problem. And the Department of Energy, which has too cozy a relationship with the electric power industry, says, well, this is a national security problem, and it doesn't have anything to do with us at all. So President Trump said, don't worry, when I'm elected president, we'll knock their heads together and get this problem fixed. And on March 26th, he signed an executive order on EMP that basically does exactly that. He takes control of the EMP problem at the White House and doesn't trust any of the departments and agencies. The White House is going to be running what I called, this is what I had recommended in my book, an EMP Manhattan Project, to be run out of the White House and not to trust the departments and agencies, which are so dominated still by the deep state. and he knocks their heads together and says, all of you are responsible for solving this problem. Everybody's got a piece of it. And he doesn't trust them to solve the problem either. The executive order gives all of the departments and agencies homework assignment. Within less than a year now, by next March 26th, they all owe the president certain technological and policy tools that will equip the White House with the means to rapidly implement the recommendations of the Congressional EMP Commission so we can protect not only the electric grid, but all life-sustaining critical infrastructures. And that is what we have been working toward at the federal level. We are not out of the woods yet, though, because, it's an enormous obstacle that the president faces from his own government. There are all kinds of deep state bureaucrats. The electric power industry has $145 million a year to pay in lobbying Congress and members of the administration to do nothing, as they have done for years. President Trump's got to overcome all that. So this is the time that it's necessary to fight harder than ever to try to help the president implement his policy. And I wouldn't wait for Washington or for the president to be successful. I think the states can protect their electric grids on their own. And that's another thing we do, is we try to educate the states. My book, Blackout Wars, for example, has got draft legislation. All the governor would have to do is sign that draft legislation in the book, and he would put his state on the way to becoming protected from EMP. Those things.
Well, give us a sense. I mean, that's just absolutely, incredible to hear. I had a question to ask, but since you were talking about that, when you met him at the Iowa caucus there, give us a sense at that time, that you've heard about dealing with politicians and people always go in there and talk to them. One, give us a sense of what you thought of, just in terms of his ability to take information that he's probably not that familiar with, and to assess that and then take that, and how quickly you think that all this came about. Were you shocked and surprised that something that you talked about had, came across so quickly in an executive order? Because we always hear from everybody else that he sort of like listens, but he doesn't really quite understand something. He delegates to other people. Give us a sense of what you were thinking when you were, talking to him about this, and how were you surprised at how quickly, basically he came on board?
I was not surprised because he's not a politician, and which means he's more than halfway there to being a highly intelligent man, not being. I didn't believe the propaganda, that was coming out of the mainstream media, that he was a stupid man and a troglodyte and all of that. I knew none of that was true. Just from other colleagues that were on his team, that were trying to help him get elected. I was surprised at how, he had never heard of EMP before. I was surprised at how quickly he picked up. We only had 45 minutes. It takes a lot of politicians. Well, some of them have been reading our reports for years and they still don't understand it. But in 45 minutes, not only did he grasp how important this was, but, basically made a commitment right there that this was a problem he was going to solve. And I think he would have done it sooner. It's, this executive order was signed on March 26th. Of course, it's been making its way through the federal bureaucracy for a lot longer than that. So, considering that Obama received this we sent draft copies of executive orders to President Obama for every year of 8 years of his presidency, and he did nothing. All right?
Wow.
Contrast. So this is an amazing contrast. And, I am pleased and I guess I wouldn't say surprised. I don't want to say that because, again, he's not a politician. A politician probably would have split the difference between us, the EMP Commission, and the deep state that wants to do nothing, and would take a middle course. When you're dealing with existential threats, you don't want to take a middle course, But we're not out of the woods yet, as I said. Yes, the president has signed an executive order. I'm disappointed that many of my colleagues think the war is won, because an executive order has been signed. No. One of my disappointments was I thought that when the executive order was signed, that perhaps the deep state and the electric power industry would finally see the writing on the wall and want to become part of the solution, would want to join with the president and become part of the solution. I didn't really think that would happen, but I hoped it might. But they proved almost immediately that it wasn't going to happen. And so they've gone to their last ditch, and we're in the last and most important phase of the struggle. And they're basically saying, come and get us. You know, we're dug in deep, and we're going to try to wait out the Trump administration and hope that somebody else gets elected, and then we can continue our policy of doing nothing. Well, we just have to go in with bayonets and bury them in that last ditch before the president's term expires. Hopefully he'll be reelected, and then for sure they'll have no hope. But these people, the deep state and the lobbyists, they are a stubborn adversary. And
they certainly are.
They can't compromise. On this issue, there has been no compromise. You know, it's you basically have to achieve the goal over their dead bodies. And that's what the EMP task force is doing. It's making a lot of dead bodies, a carpet of dead bodies of our adversaries, so we can achieve safety for the country from this threat, from the sun and from our adversaries that threatens the destruction of our civilization.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. He's the Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and the Director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. Dr. Pry, we have to take a quick break. Could you hold on for just a moment or two for us?
Certainly.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaikh and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this break.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Peter, do you have your books there? Okay, all set? I'll bring us back. And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Our guest this segment is Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. He's the Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and Director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. He's also the author of the books Blackout Wars and EMP Manhattan Project. Dr. Pry, do you have those books so that you can show our viewers what they are looking like? All right. Blackout. Thank you for that. Dr. Pry, you wrote an article, Are U.S. Submarines Vulnerable? And you write in this article that Moscow for decades spent vast resources on an enormous array of technologies, including satellites like Aerostat, trying to locate U.S. submarines hiding at sea. You also point out that ballistic missile submarines are the last line of defense, of deterrence and defense to defeat a surprise nuclear attack. Doctor, talk to us about this and talk to us about the vulnerability of our submarine fleet.
Sure. The triad, we have a triad of land-based ICBMs, strategic bombers, and ballistic missile submarines to deter nuclear war. And the strategic bombers and the land-based ICBMs are more vulnerable today than ever. I mean, the Russians and even the Chinese have the ability to basically wipe out the bomber force and wipe out the ICBM force and wipe out our command and control bunkers and wipe out most of our ballistic missile submarine fleet if they were to attack us now on a day-to-day basis in a surprise attack before we could generate our forces. Daily, our submarine fleet has sunk from about 45 submarines during the Cold War to 14 today, and it's going to go down to 12 in the future. We need 2 submarines in port on a day-to-day basis to sustain one at sea. So with 12 submarines, that means we'll only have 4 submarines at sea at any given time, and that's basically it that would be able to survive an enemy surprise nuclear attack. They are the last best defense and deterrent against a surprise nuclear attack. And it has been an article of faith in Washington, sold by the U.S. Navy and the Department of Defense, that our submarines at sea are invulnerable. And a dangerous decision has been made, based on the assumption that our submarines are vulnerable, to deploy a warhead, a tactical nuclear weapon called the W-76-2, to replace some of our strategic weapons on our ballistic missile submarines with this very low-yield tactical nuclear weapon, to try to compensate for the vast disparity that exists between us and the Russians in tactical nuclear weapons. They have at least a 10-to-1 advantage in tactical nuclear weapons. The problem is that the underlying assumption about doing this, that our submarines are invulnerable, is probably not true. Even during the Cold War, in the article, I described many sources, many serious people, who pointed out that the submarines could be vulnerable from a number of sources, just like espionage. Everybody seems to have forgotten the Walker spy ring, for example, where John Walker and a coterie of spies penetrated the U.S. Navy communications, discovered our submarine locational secrets, and gave them to the USSR. And people like John Lehman, who was then the Secretary of the Navy, and the director of the CIA at the time, and the deputy director of the CIA, all of them said, if we had gone to war with Russia then, they would have been able to destroy the ballistic missile submarines and probably win the Third World War. And the CIA pointed out that this vulnerability in our communications, once the barn door is open, that it could take decades. We could be vulnerable for decades. We might never be able to figure out everything they know because they can continually exploit the data. We've just forgotten about Walker and the fact that these guys cracked our communications at one time, and they might still be vulnerable. The Russians and Chinese have certainly not given up on espionage. If anything, they've gotten better at it. And in addition to the human agents, we now have cyber espionage going on, that had no precedent in the Cold War. During the Obama administration, the Russians actually penetrated the Joint Chiefs of Staff computers for 2 weeks. We don't know what they did, but it's possible that they might, through cyber means, have gotten critical data on submarines. Another thing is just sheer technology. There have been, during the Cold War, there were technologies that could have made our submarine vulnerable. I cite an expert, Roger Speed, who was an advisor to the U.S. Navy. And Speed pointed out that in the 1980s, there were technologies, there were hydrophones that could have been used if you had a hydrophone array to sweep ballistic missile submarine patrol areas, and you could find the subs in 2 days or less.
Well, this is what we saw in Hunt for Red October.
Well, Red October is one example. But 2 days or less, and the technology has only gotten better since then. In the article, I point out that there's this new technology called LiDAR. Okay, that archaeologists have used it. Using airborne lasers to penetrate the deep jungle canopies of Guatemala, and they've discovered 60,000 new Mayan structures, whole cities and towns that we didn't know about before, and it's completely transformed our evaluation of Mayan civilization. This was achieved not by nation states and putting their cutting-edge technology. This was achieved by a private sector company working with the University of Houston. All right? What could China and Russia achieve against our submarines if they were to exploit our modern cutting-edge technologies and they were putting everything into it, vast resources into it? I think it's foolish for us to assume that our submarines are vulnerable. We should be assuming that the bad guys might well have achieved a technological breakthrough so they could locate the subs and destroy them. And if you can locate the subs, you can destroy them. The rest of the article describes several different ways that submarines at sea can be destroyed through, for example, anti-submarine ballistic missiles or anti-ship ballistic missiles. China has these. They've got intermediate range. Even Iran has got these anti-ship ballistic missiles that basically have smart warheads. They can see a moving vessel. If you have a nuclear warhead in one of those things and you knew roughly where a submarine was, you could use one of these to very quickly destroy a submarine.
Dr. Pry, this is quite an extensive article, and unfortunately, time doesn't permit us to really do justice to it. But in your article, you talk about how the U.S. nuclear stockpile has been reduced, and the Russian nuclear stockpile has increased, and that's not even counting. You mentioned, but that's not even counting the Chinese nuclear stockpile. Have we reached the point that the idea of the mutually assured destruction theory is no longer going to work for us?
Oh, yes, we passed that a long time ago. I know people still talk about mutually assured destruction. The Democrats, for example, Adam Smith, taking the advice of plowshares, thinks that we can have a minimum deterrent, mutually assured destruction, if we get rid of all our ICBMs, get rid of our bombers, and reduce it to just 6 ballistic missile submarines. I'm on it. That would be at a days. Yeah, we would be able to sustain 2 submarines at sea. And he thinks, but if you do the calculations, right now, We do not have a mutual assured destruction capability against Russia, but they do against us. There was a mutual assured destruction is not just an idea. It was based on calculations that were done back in the 60s. We needed 400 equivalent megatons in order to destroy 25% of Russia's population and 75% of their industry. We need to be able to deliver on target 400 equivalent megatons, okay? We don't have that in our inventory anymore. They do, especially after a first strike, okay? You need to have 400 equivalent megatons deliverable against them after a first strike. I calculated, we passed that several years ago, where we would not be able to achieve even the mutual assured destruction goals, which was considered the foundation. I mean, the lowest we could go for many years. But in the aftermath of the Cold War, people just don't think about those calculations anymore on our side. The bad guys, I assure you, are still doing those calculations. And they know the kind of advantage they've achieved.
Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work, read your writings, and buy your books. And hold up those books one more time so our audience can check them out.
There are two books, EMP Manhattan Project and Blackout Wars. And they might be interested in the report. We didn't get to the Poseidon, which is this new Russian superweapon that's probably, I think, designed to go after our submarines. It's called Poseidon, Russia's new doomsday machine. Wow. All these reports and books are available from Amazon.com. And a lot of people carry my articles. I'm not a big believer in websites since I am so conservative, you know.
Well, if you had a website, it would probably be like ours and banned on Facebook anyway. But Dr. Pry, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you so much for having me.
And like I said, unfortunately, with the time restraints, this is a great article. Great article, great report, and we really didn't have time to go into it in depth, but we hope by listening to this interview, our listeners and viewers would want to learn more and check it out. That's Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. And Dr. Pry, again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless. And
have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, now thanks to AUN TV Network, in addition to what we've historically been, the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. And of course, if you're not near a broadcast tower of either the radio or the television variety, you've always got Al Gore's amazing internet to bring you the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landriff with Rick Manning, my co-host today, and I do want to introduce, we've got a great guest. Before I introduce Dr. Lameiro, I want to make sure that I let you know that if you've missed anything, or if you want to hear a rebroadcast or watch a rebroadcast, go to our website, ccrsnetwork.com or ccrshow.com. So we have, you can see his face on the screen. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of conservatives, and he is a very interesting guest. That's why I like to have him back on, because of his analysis. But let me introduce him very quickly. I know that he doesn't need one, but if you're on the show, you get one anyhow. But bottom line is, Dr. Gerard Francis Lameiro he's an author, he's a political analyst, he's an expert on forecast models. He's the author of 5 books, and you will find as you look at his books that he's an optimist, not just because he's unrealistically optimistic, but he just sees the positive in things, and it turns out he tends to be right about that stuff. But at any rate, he's popular on television and radio talk shows, as I think you will. If you haven't heard him before here, you'll know why he is. Does literally hundreds of media interviews every year. He's often referred to as America's #1 political analyst and the Nostradamus of political elections. But he's got a great website. It's called Great News for America, and I would recommend that you check that out. He also, his most recent book, it's been out about a year, is More Great News for America. This is a guy who follows the basic rule, which is present good news. Don't be a dour sourpuss. And definitely, Dr. Lameiro is not that. So with that, Dr. Lameiro, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
Oh, it's great to be with you. I appreciate the good introduction. And I might also add that, one of the characteristics of the left, the socialists, communists, anarchists, Marxists, etc., is that they basically have a negative message. They don't have an optimistic message because of the way they portray everything. They hate their opponents. They don't see it as a collegial kind of affair where we're all together. They divide and conquer. That's how they try to conquer anyway. And my vision is quite a bit different. I'm optimistic. I had the good opportunity to work for Ronald Reagan's campaign twice in 76 and 80, and I think his optimism rubbed off on me.
Fair enough. As I recall, you were able to cast a vote from not only in the polls as a regular American, but as a member of the Electoral College.
Yes, I was a member of the Presidential Electoral College. You get to cast 2 votes. You get to cast the vote for the president, and I voted for Ronald Reagan. And I also got to vote for the vice president, which was George Herbert Walker Bush at the time, 1980.
Yeah. That was the very first election a presidential election I was able to vote in, and I, at the time, didn't fully appreciate what an unusual election it was. I was really excited about Ronald Reagan, but since it was my first election, I thought that every election I'd be that lucky. Turns out I wasn't. It's few and far in between of that kind of fellow. But I feel fortunate when you look at the papers. The papers would tell us that President Trump is unpopular, that people don't like him, they think he lacks the temperament, they think he lacks he's an extremist, all these different things. That's what the New York Times, the Washington Post would tell you. What CBS, MSNBC, those folks would tell you. So I'm going to ask you to tell us the truth.
Well, that's a great question. And I always like the biblical quotation, John 8:32, the truth shall make you free. And I really believe that to be the case. That's kind of my quote I love. Because, when you do have the truth, you are free to move on with your life. But if you're being deceived, it's difficult to make good decisions. And truly, the truth in this case is that the folks on the left, the Democratic Party, which has morphed into a socialist-type party, basically are against the Constitution. I'm not going to call anything other than a spade a spade. These people don't like the Constitution. They don't like our history. They want to get rid of statues of Thomas Jefferson. I mean, these people are just down on this system, and the reason they're down on it is because they don't believe in freedom. They really believe in central control and command type economies. They want to run things. They think they're the elite. They think they know they have the answers. And Hayek, famous Hayek, the philosopher and economist, his book, The Fatal Conceit, is so true. These people have a fatal conceit because they think everything's great. AOC, for example, thinks Venezuela is a wonderful country and we should be like Venezuela. Those people are starving to death because they've ruined their infrastructure with socialism. And she would love to have socialism here.
It's not a natural disaster. It's not famine. It's a governmental disaster.
It's a philosophy failure. It's a failed philosophy.
Yeah. Ideas have consequences.
In fact, I call them the isms of failure. There's Marxism, socialism, communism, anachronism, or anarchism, and I call those the isms of failure because they all result in the same effect: moral and economic bankruptcy. You not only get economic bankruptcy, but you also get moral bankruptcy because the only way to do business in a socialist country is through corruption.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, if you look at the United States and how it went from being essentially 13 relatively insignificant colonies to becoming the preeminent superpower in the world, And then you look at how a very prosperous nation like Venezuela, one of the richest nations in the world, went from being that to, in very rapid order, becoming one of the poorest, most deprived nations in the world. It's about ideas in the final analysis.
It's also about power and not using it properly. That power concentrated in the hands of one person is used for that person's one benefit, but there's no way without a market to decide how you divvy up resources that they can be divvied up in an optimal way. Economics is all about managing scarce resources, as you know. And socialism just doesn't know how to manage resources because one person or one committee or one party just can't manage a huge economy with all the billions of decisions that are made every day.
That's the truth. Well, how do you think this all plays into Donald Trump? Because my sense of it is that he's doing a very good job. There are people who weren't sure how he would turn out as a president because he was new to politics. And, politicians often overpromise and underdeliver. But he's been a very interesting politician in that sense. And that is, it seems to me he's delivering the things he said he was going to do.
He sticks to things. He believes in his principles. He believes in carrying out his word. He seems to have a lot of care for people. And the left is just beside itself because they were hoping to get, another Republican who just goes along with their agenda, which is for bigger and bigger government moving toward socialism. By the way, the word progressive in my book means progressing to socialism. And then the word socialism, as Lenin said, was really the prelude to communism. And I think a lot of them are actually closet communists too. And some of them will be out with you and tell you right straightforward today they're communists. They believe in it. Some of them are just straight socialists, somehow thinking that's better. They have this kind of warped sense that socialism means that you treat everybody nice and fair and all of that. And you don't make people wait. You just work. You give them a salary for doing nothing because that's a nice thing to do. But that's creates bankruptcy because as Margaret Thatcher said and quoted many times, sooner or later you run out of other people's money, and that's the problem with socialism.
There you go. Well, I've often referred to socialism as communism with a smile. But at any rate, we're up against the break, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm glad you're able to stick through the break with us because there's lots more to talk about. You're always interesting. But I do want to remind our listeners they're listening to Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landriff with Rick Manning, and we are coming to you on the Conservative Commandos radio network, broadcast all across this great nation from the sea to shining sea, and on the AUN TV network as well. And, of course, always on Al Gore's amazing internet. Aren't you glad he invented that? We'll be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, thanks to the AUN TV network, and of course carried on Al Gore's amazing internet all over the world. I'm George Landriff with Rick Manning, and we are your Conservative Commandos hosts. I do want to remind you, if you want to hear a rebroadcast, just go to our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com. We've been talking with Dr. Gerard Francis Lameiro. He is, I'm going to ask him to make some predictions, so I'll tout the fact that he is often referred to as America's #1 political analyst and the Nostradamus of political elections. That may give you a clue as to what I might be coming up to ask him. But I will also point out that he accurately predicted a Trump victory long before pollsters and pundits gave him even a small chance of winning. And in fact, he correctly predicted every state that the then candidate Donald Trump won to carry the 2016 election. Many of those were big surprises. People would never have predicted it, but Dr. Lameiro did. So with that, welcome back to Conservative Commandos. And Doctor, I would like, if I could, to impose upon you to give us a prediction. I know it's a long time out. We're still basically, just under 2 years away from an election. The other side hasn't even picked their candidate yet. And so this is a many political lifetimes away. But read some tea leaves for us. Tell us what they say.
Well, right now, I see Donald Trump getting over 360 electoral votes. And in fact, the position of the Democratic Party is so weak among the electorate that vote. There's a difference between taking a poll of registered voters and actually looking at likely voters who go out and vote. A lot of registered voters don't bother.
Well, particularly with motor voter and things like that.
Yeah, but they still don't vote.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway,
they're registered easily. In the old days, you used to actually have to go to trouble to register. Now they just do it automatically. So I would assume that you have fewer actual people voting as compared to those who are registered.
Yeah, it's a pretty major difference. Yeah. But anyway, what I wanted to say is I see him as getting over 360 electoral votes. I don't see any one of the 23 candidates, and maybe 25 when we're finished, getting new candidates in on the Democratic side comes even close to beating him. And I'm talking about all the people, and even I've looked at, I read polls because I'm in the forecast business, and they're doing sort of something similar. But I still see them suffering from the 2016 problem that I don't think they're doing the polling the right way. Under every poll, there's an underlying model, and they superimpose roughly 1,000 phone calls on that model that they have, and they weight things, and they do different things. They have small sample corrections, all sorts of things they do. And in the final analysis, I don't think they're doing them the best possible way, and that's why I think they're usually wrong and I'm usually right. I had Brexit right, and I had every state that Trump carried correct in the election. And I think it's kind of, by the way, with the presidential election, you don't really care about the national polls in some sense because it is not a national election.
Right, it's 50 individual state elections.
It's state elections, and in 2 states, Nebraska and Maine, it's actually down to the congressional district because they split the electoral votes that way. So if you put all of that together, it's 56 different elections, throwing in D.C. too. Mm-hmm. And you have to predict each one of those right if you're going to get the right electoral votes. And I had pretty accurate electoral vote count, and I've gotten as many in one election, 49 out of 50 states correct, which is really pretty good.
That's very good.
I haven't gotten 50 out of 50 yet, but I've been pretty close. And right now, Trump is leading, and if the Democrats continue to do the things they're doing, Colorado's going to come in play, New Hampshire's going to come in play. This may be a blowout election if the Democrats keep sticking their foot in their mouth, because the American people don't like what's going on in the Democratic Party.
That makes sense to me. How about some states? How do you see a state like Nevada? Is that a state that could be in play?
Yes.
Because that's a state that he did not win in 2016.
That's one of the in-play states. So that's why this could be a real blowout election. But even if he gets 300, right now I have him at 367. I have the Democrat at 151. A lot of that is actually California.
Right.
And
probably California and New York, right?
Yeah, those are like almost...
I'm assuming California, New York, and Illinois.
Yeah.
And that's probably 2/3 of what they're going to get, or maybe more. I don't know.
So at any rate, the situation is that he's looking like he's got a landslide. It's looking like it could be a blowout landslide, close to like 1984 with Reagan. It could be very large blowout because basically he's doing a good job. You're going to expect to see, I'll make this prediction, that a lot of the leftist media and those who are influenced by the leftist media, are going to start putting out stories about how terrible those tariffs are and how terrible the economy is. And we're probably not going to see continued growth the way it's been growing. Expect everything to be terrible. That's how they talk.
Yeah. So who are you gonna believe? Their lion eyes, or excuse me, your lion eyes, or their, that's the idea of, who are you gonna believe, me or your own eyes? And I think most Americans will know if the economy's helping them or not.
Well, they know because whether or not their child who just graduated from college got a job. They know if their neighbor down the block just got a job after being laid off during the Obama years, and that now he's got 2 or 3 job offers. They know it because they have practical information around them every day. Right. They also look at their checkbooks and see how long is the money lasting and things like that. Very practical stuff.
Right.
And I wrote something about 25 years ago called The 10 Laws for Winning Presidential Elections. It wasn't a book because I didn't think enough people would buy it as a book to write a book on it. But people who run for president sometimes use it. And when they follow the 10 laws, they usually do well. If they don't follow the 10 laws, they usually don't do well. Dole followed them for a while and did well, but then he veered off. I think his consultants pushed him in a different direction, and he wound up losing to Clinton in '96.
Yeah.
I think that was a great mistake. And in fact, Bob Woodward mentioned me in my 10 laws in a book he wrote on the 1996 election.
Interesting. Well, I'm assuming that Hillary probably didn't follow very many of those laws.
I think she followed one of them.
Fair enough. Well, we've only got about a minute and a half, but if I could, maybe we could delve just into something a little more personal with you and talk about some healthcare policy and how it might matter to you, and kind of some of the things that you're, if you will, up against.
Well, I've been super duper healthy my entire life. At least it seemed like I rarely went to a doctor, rarely got any benefit from my health insurance premiums. And a few months ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 renal cell carcinoma. That's kidney cancer that has metastasized to the lungs. And I didn't feel any pain, didn't have any symptoms. But if you look at a CAT scan of my lung, it looks like one of those snow globes turned upside down, and you see all these little, like snowflakes. Those are like cancer cells in my lungs, and they're flooded. And you can't do surgery. It does not respond to chemotherapy. It does not respond to radiation. You can't cut out your lungs because you need to breathe. So it turns out that this particular diagnosis I got was almost a guaranteed fatal diagnosis a year ago. But believe it or not, Donald Trump and his FDA lead, the person who's running the FDA, he made a big push to basically approve drugs that had high potential, even though they like to take years and years to be double check, triple check, quadruple check. But meanwhile, people are dying while that happens. And so he decided to cut the bureaucracy and help the people live. Well, guess what? I'm one of those people, because the drugs I'm taking were not approved until April of last year in his administration and his FDA. And if I am saved by these drugs and I'm one of the ones cured, I may write a book on how Trump saved my life.
There you go. That makes a lot of sense. What I would say, our time's up, but I do want to remind our listeners, in this case, I would request that our listeners remember you in their prayers.
Thank you very much.
I believe in the power of prayer, and miracles are always welcome. So, you made some great points today. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And I just thank you for being a strong voice and speaking out and letting people know what the truth is.
Well, I have a lot more books I'd like to write, so I'm hoping I survive this.
Well, good. I have a lot more of your books I'd like to read. So we're on the same page on that one.
That's great.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much. And just remind our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. We will be right back after these messages, but just appreciate you listening and watching. And remember Dr. Lameiro in your prayers.
Thank you.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, And the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.